Hi everybody, happy Halloween. I'll get started with chapter 11, the empty chair. And the purpose is to prevent the division that leads to the disconnection between the individual and the environment. It helps individuals role play what they would like to say or how they would like to act towards another person. So it's kind of like practice, which is good. It includes both creation and deconstruction of the whole. And the empty chair technique reflects the integration of the polarities. And I looked that up, and it's like the extreme, the differences of your thought processes and everything, the opposites, yeah. So there's 11 basic concepts, and those can be found on page 59 of our Great Erford book. That's where I'm getting all this information from. So there's a therapeutic relationship and building trust that the client and the counselor must have before the empty chair can be implemented. So with these 6 steps, the counselor explains why the technique will be used in effort to put an end to any resistance that the client might have. Step 2 is to face the chairs towards each other. Then the counselor works with the client to deepen the experience. The goal for the client is to express the most prominent side of the polarity. And the counselor should ask what, how, why, questions like that to dig deeper. The 4th step is to use the empty chair technique as a counter expression. Step 5 is that the client switches roles until it is determined that each side of the issue has been completely articulated. The final step, the 6th one, is to focus on getting the client to agree upon an action plan. So the example in the book was talking about 19-year-old Sasha, who was having an on-again, off-again relationship with her boyfriend. So the counselor used the empty chair technique in efforts to build their relationship and help it. So once again, the empty chair, it helps the client become more aware of their feelings that are below the surface and how it affects the client's well-being. I can't get situated, sorry. And then it's also helpful with a client who has unfinished business. So this makes me think about some of my students, maybe a parent has passed away and they didn't end on good terms, so they were angry at each other, or they wish that they were able to say goodbye. So the empty chair would be a great technique to have them do so that they could talk to that person and let them know how they feel. And in the moment, they won't ever get to deliver that here on earth to that person, but maybe some unresolved feelings can be helped in that issue. Chapter 12 is body movement and exaggeration. I definitely think that I use this a lot, like my eyes, and different things to help get my point across. So this is also a technique that comes from Gestalt. Yeah, that dude, I know how to say it, but it's coming out weird today. So it's our verbal and nonverbal communication that tells us and helps us reveal the underlying experiences and our emotional responses. So our example is like shaking our hands, our legs, we're slouched, our posture, we got clenched fist. The client is asked to give a voice to this movement. So an example in the book is the 56-year-old man that is grieving over the death of his mother. He uses the word still quite a bit, and the counselor has him repeat still and each time get louder, and then with his clenched fist, and to work on his body movement so that he can get in touch with all of those emotions that are going on with him during this time that he hasn't been able to connect with this far in the grieving process. So it helps pinpoint the root. It also is a technique that is flexible. There's no rigid guidelines. So I think this would be very helpful for teenagers too, just because they don't really like rules. So we could go outside the box on this a little bit and talk about those body movements, the eye rolling, and I don't even know if I can eye roll. Just the exaggeration of their thoughts and everything, and really focus on finding the underlying issue. So chapter 13 is role reversal. And it's typically used when a counselor believes that the client behavior is the reversal of some underlying feeling and the client is behaving in a disconnected manner. So the reversing of the roles helps the client understand the polar issues that are involved. It's helpful with clients who experience conflict within themselves, and the client helps identify different roles that the client is undergoing in the paradoxical situation. So you are able to examine both sides of the conflict with the role reversal. And the weird thing about this, though, is that there's no deep studies that have been looked into the effectiveness of the role reversal. The resistance might take place and the client can be uncomfortable in this situation, so the counselor will need to give extra encouragement and to be on the safe side. So with role reversal, I think that might take some time after they have dealt with their issues, maybe after they've done the empty chair, and maybe after the counselor and the client have really chatted about their feelings and had them repeat some of those feelings like we do in the exaggeration part. And then the client might be ready to do that role reversal to really understand how the other person might feel in that given situation. So I want to share with you my Halloween costume. I wore this all day long. I was scissors. Can you see? Oh goodness, it's not going to fit over my head. I was a pair of scissors. Yeah. And then two of the other girls in the English department were paper and rock. So we were rock, paper, scissors today. So pretty cool stuff. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Have a good one.